Hello everyone, welcome to this week's webinar. Brenndan Cooper and myself here at Tiffany Green's Golf Club in Kansas City, Missouri. As usual, these webinars are brought to you by Medicus Golf and KickX Golf. You know, a lot of golf instruction talks about using your lead side in the golf swing. Today we're going to talk about using your trail side.
Yep.
So for right-handers, that's the right-hand side, and you know, how important do you think that is, Brenndan, using that right side?
Oh, it's very important because, I mean, there's what you do on the right side, I mean, affects left side and, you know, vice versa. So I know a lot of times we talk weight left and flat left wrist. Well, today we're going to try to cover some things on the right side that affects those things.
Right, that influence all those things.
Right.
So, I mean, you can work on trying to keep a flat or inline, you know, club shaft, but what makes it do that?
Right.
I mean, that's the whole key. So we're going to have a bunch of little different training aids up here today. If you have any questions, just type them in the sidebar. We'll get to those after we've gone through the webinar. So let's start with a couple of things. Let's talk about this vision track, for example. If you're going to take a swing down this vision track, obviously we want the sweet spot to be traveling down that line. So a good way to think about that, I think, and this goes back to some training that we've all done in the past, is if you take a couple of dowels, for example, and I line them up, and let's say I go to impact here. So my right arm, from your angle, has an angle this way, okay? So now I'm going to take the other dowel, I'm going to place it on my forearm like this. So if I was set up on this alternate target line, or the vision track, what happens is I take this back, these should match at the top. You wouldn't want to see the line this way. You wouldn't want to see it this way. So if I preview that, I preview impact. Now I go up. If my right shoulder is too low, you can see how I can't get these matched up again. My arm's going to go underneath it. If I get up here and I come out too high with the right shoulder, again, I can't match those up. So one of the things that helps match it up, and that's just the shoulder motions. The other thing that helps match it up is the angle I have. I'll try to show you from this angle. Is the angle between the right wrist and this dowel. So if I'm at impact, I have some bend in my right wrist. Again, if I go to the top and I come down right here, if I keep that bend, I'm going to line up on this every time. If I add more bend, now I'm not going to line up. If I have less bend, now I'm not going to line up.
Right.
So if you want to kind of walk through those two pieces there, let's talk about using the dowel for this drill. And once you get it set, okay, you're putting it at impact. So you want to walk everybody through and just guide me through what we talk about here with our people?
Yeah, I mean, what we're looking at, just like Chuck said, is we're lining everything up here. Now, I'm going to kind of hold this one steady. Go ahead and take it to the top there. So again, you see how these match up. So what we'll see a lot of times is we'll see somebody comes in, like Chuck was saying, the right shoulder will come in too high, and now you're off plane, and now you've got to make a compensation. So now the direction, you can see the club head's way out here. So now you've got to come in and make some sort of compensation with a shot.
Yeah,
stand up,
right.
or you're going to dump everything early. So
Right.
It's just a good visual. Get back and preview impact here. And then we'll just have to just make a backswing and then down slow and just try to get the feel of matching those up. And you're going to feel the right shoulder heading down plane, and you're going to feel the right forearm also coming in a little bit lower than what normally you're going to feel there.
Right. So when we talk about that, go ahead and just take that in your right hand and turn on this one so I can see your body. All right. So now let's take this. Let's put it out this way. Okay. Turn around. So let's say that Brenndan has his forearm and the shaft in line. All right, so now if you bend the right wrist back, and I place this under here like this, it is still in line, laying flat on a table. Now if he just bends forward, okay, so he has his right forearm positioned in line and supporting the club shaft.
Yeah.
If he had no bend in this elbow, now you can see that the arm is on a completely different plane than the club shaft is. All right, so we want to try to get the right forearm in plane with the club shaft. So, like, and you don't have to start it there. It's just easier to do that. as long as you can get it back there, that's really all that matters.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and you can do this at home. Go ahead and do that. Do this again. So he's going to set that up. Then just take another dowel and put it underneath the shaft and your forearm. And you can see from right there. Now let's turn this way so they can see it. You see how that just all lines right up?
Yeah, just like you're sitting on a tabletop.
Right. Sitting on a tabletop. Now drop it down. You're really good to go now.
Yep.
All right. So as you take it up, now let's show them how the right shoulder on plane works too.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead and take that down, and let's put that right up here, pointing down at the alternate target line. All right. So if Brenndan has this up here by his armpit, let's say, as he makes a backswing, this stays, and the right shoulder reaches that plane at the top. Now, what it needs to do is come down along this angle. All right, so as he starts down, it should be coming down along the angle. And go ahead and go back up again. Let's say you come down way underneath, a la Brad Paxton. So now you can see he's tilted back and it's severely off plane. And now he starts pushing it outward. Well, that's going to push the whole thing. You can see how high this came out above that plane. So we want to train all these different pieces of the body to do their job. So, and again, this is a very easy one to do. You just point it at the base of your line, go to the top. Now let's have your right shoulder move what we call down plane. Right? So your right shoulder would look more like this at impact because you have some tilt versus that.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So you have to make sure when you're doing that, when you're doing this tilt and your spine is leaning backwards, you don't want to make that move with your upper body.
Right, because now you're losing the steady head.
So how you do that is if you just stood straight up, kept your head still, and you moved your hips forward like this, you can see how that just tilted my spine. So there I would be at impact.
Yep.
Right? So what we see when we tell people to push your hips forward sometimes is they push your hips, but they move their chest too.
Yep.
Well, that didn't create any kind of angle coming into the golf ball.
And now the shoulder's going to be coming in too high again.
It's too high and the forearm's too high.
Yep.
And you're probably going to lose all the pressure in the right wrist.
That's exactly right. I mean, anytime, the hands and the forearm, shoulder, everything comes in too high, then you're going to be literally throwing the club head away, and then you're in trouble.
Right. Well, I read a post today, and it was by Matt Rudy with Golf Digest. And Matt wanted some information on what people thought Tiger was doing good and what he thought he was doing bad. And my response was, I think Chris is definitely going in the right direction, but I also think that, one of the things that Tiger's got a little too much shaft lean right now with all these shots, especially the short game. Well, if my shoulder and my whole body dips down like this, I better have a ton of lean.
Yeah.
I'm going to stick it in the ground if I don't.
Yeah.
All right, so it's a chicken and the egg.
Yeah.
All right. So how about just, you can have some downward motion of your head. I mean, he goes this way. But coming in, you got to start getting a little more expansion going upwards.
Exactly.
Which will take some of that shaft lean out.
Yeah.
So normally, a lot of the players we see don't have that problem. They don't have too much shaft lean.
We're normally increasing it.
We're normally increasing it. Now, shaft lean for someone just learning to hit the ball pretty solid, we're going to give them more of this feel.
Mm-hmm.
A better player, we're going to give them more of this feel.
Yes.
Right.
But everything again is staying,
In line.
in line here.
Right.
But kind of talking on right side again. We were talking about, we always talk about the left wrist here. Well, what influences a flat left wrist? Well, a bent right wrist.
Right.
So if that right wrist started to lose some of its bend, go ahead and lose some of that bend.
So you can see I have a bent right wrist now. If I start losing that, you can see how the left wrist now starts bending. See, I've got two different angles right here.
Exactly.
So that wrist just overpowers it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with so many players. You can, sometimes a player can think left wrist and it clicks with them.
Right.
But sometimes, it doesn't do them any good, and you focus more on the right side of things. Then it starts to click, and that's just how things affect, certain parts of the golf swing.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're going to throw a ball, you wouldn't out here to the outfield. You certainly wouldn't throw it by extending your arm and wrist down here.
Right.
Okay. You would have your body would be opening, your shoulder would be going downward, and you'd be throwing it this way. You wouldn't be hanging back up here and trying to throw it.
Right. And
unless you didn't know how to throw a ball.
yeah, exactly. And you know, the thing to look there when Chuck was doing that, how everything was going down plane, down towards the base of the line there. You know, that's the key element. Everybody gets in such a hurry to try to think that they have to put power in the shot, and they do this.
Right. Because it feels really powerful.
It feels powerful, but there's no power in that.
Yeah, it's powerless.
Yeah.
we want you. What we want you to do is we want you to make a swing, a powerful swing, but with no effort.
Right.
Versus effortless power. Well, we want, instead of power with effort, we want effortless power.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
You want to grab a couple of these other things? Let's go through those.
Yeah. So the main thing with this was, and you know, again, the only thing this was for here is again to kind of showcase a little bit of the right shoulder. So again, we set that kind of right there on the shoulder. Now, if I make a backswing, the right shoulder is going to go to the plane here, and then on the downswing, it's just going to continue going down there. And a great drill that individuals can do is if you just take a golf club and put it right across your shoulder like this, but have the club head sticking over by the right shoulder. So now I'll do it kind of from this side here so you can see it. So now if I make a backswing or turn here, now I want to try to picture, I'm going to take this club head and I'm going to hit the golf ball with it. So now if I go down and try to get the club head to hit the ball, you can see how my right shoulder went down this way. It didn't go back and low, or it didn't go out high. Right. So that's a good little drill that somebody can do to really get that feel of getting the shoulder down playing a little bit better.
Right, and you can also, with that same club head, just take the club head, and actually Ron Green showed me this years ago. You reach under, you hold the club like this, and I'm going to put it up my left shoulder. Now I have the club head facing towards target. I'm going to put my hand under the shaft. It's going to look like this, under the shaft. Reach down and grab that club head. So now I've got the club head and I've got the shaft anchored up here. So as I set up to this alternate target line, as I go back, so here I am at the top. As I come down, I'm letting this trace that coming right back down. Again, you'll notice my right arm isn't straight, and my right shoulder moved what we would refer to as down plane.
Yep.
So all of that helps control the sweet spot plane. Yep. All right, so we've got to control key number 4, which then hopefully we control key number 5 with that as well. And we're going to use that via the hands and the wrists.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
All right, you want to show this one real quick?
Yeah, again, with this one here is, again, you can use not everybody's going to have a big fat club like this, but, you can use just a normal club, and I've stuck a little extender here, and all you're going to do with it, again, is you're just simply going to, we've done these before where we just simply trace the target line base of the plane. So, again, if I make a backswing here to the top, now with this extender right here, you can see that it's going to be pointing at the base there. And if I get this going in a pretty good spot as far as tracing the base, more times than not, this is going to do what it needs to do as far as working down plane on the right path. Right. So, if I go here and all of a sudden everything's working like this, well, now you can see this is pointing way out here.
Pointer's way over here now.
Or if I try to go underneath it some, again, it's going to lay down and it's really going to get
way outside.
So again, these are things we've talked about before, but we're just trying to change a little bit of the thought process on how all this affects everything.
Right. So there's a lot of little things you can use to do this. One of the other favorite drills is to monitor your shoulder not coming out and make sure you have a good hand path coming in on the golf ball. Is the head on the wall drill we refer to. So you just put your head on a wall, right? So if Brenndan just holds my head right there, now imagine that this is a wall. So if I go to the top and I start to spin outward, my hands are going to hit the wall. Now, if my shoulder turn is too flat going back, my head's also going to move off the wall. So I need to make sure my shoulders are turning at their angle, and as I start down, now see my right shoulder is coming down and diagonally along with my hands, so they're coming down. And once they get down to what we would call release point, which is parallel to the ground, your left shoulder and left side now start extending not only upward, but inward. So as I get here, shoulder starts going upward, inward. It changes my hand path into the golf ball. My hands are now moving up and around, but the club head is still moving out. So you can do that drill at home. Just, all you do is grab your left wrist like this. Make sure your right wrist is bent, left wrist is flat. Put your head on the wall, go up, start coming down, and work your way down into the impact. If your head's not moving around and you're not hitting the wall with your hands, you're probably doing it pretty good.
Probably doing it pretty good. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, all right, let's see if we have any questions here. Let me get up here. Hope you guys don't mind me get a quick view of it here. All right, so this is from Air. Actually, two of his. How do you get the correct axis tilt and keep the turned right shoulder on plane down? Okay, so first we have to talk about what is axis tilt. Yeah. So you have two. This is one, bending forward here. Two is extending in either direction. Yep. So if I want to keep my axis tilt, the axis tilt is actually caused by the hip movement, which creates the second axis tilt. So the more hip slide I have, the more tilt I have. Yep. And you can certainly overdo that too.
Yes.
And then how you keep the right shoulder on plane. Well, we kind of covered that here. Gave you a couple of drills for that. And again, just stand in front of a mirror, put the club right at the top of your armpit, make a backswing. Now your shoulder's sitting on that shaft. Now just make your shoulder come down the shaft. Not outside of it, not underneath it.
Yeah. And more times than not, there, when you do that simple drill, you'll create axis tilt.
Yeah.
So if Chuck does that again, just face the camera here. So now if he makes that backswing, watch his left side here. If his right shoulder goes down plane, you can see his left hip is bumping towards me, and so now that's creating tilt.
Right.
So a lot of times, if one thing will correct more things,
something else,
if you do it the right way.
Right, and that's why we use prioritization. We pick the one key in those 5 keys that can affect.
Yes.
Some more keys.
Yes.
All right. Let's see what else we got here. And then we had another one. This is 4-putt Johnny. Well, Johnny, you should work on your putting. When I focus on the right side, I tend to get so over-focused on the right side that I slide forward in the downswing. Any keys to stop that? Okay, so you do want to go slide forward in the downswing. What you want to do, though, is slide forward with the lower, not the upper. If your upper body is moving too far forward in the downswing, you don't have any axis tilt here. So we've got to get this moving that direction. All right, so as you slide and your right shoulder is trying to come down plane, as you can see, I've already created that axis tilt. And I'm going in right into here. One of the things that we want to talk about as well is what the right foot, right knee do. When you start down, you don't want your right foot to jut out this way.
Right.
Because if you start your downswing and you come up on your right toe, chances are your butt's going to go forward.
Yeah.
You're going to get taller. You're going to go into early extension. So you want to feel as you're coming down that this right knee's working more inward. In other words, if you had a bar right here, just you set up to that. I'll do it with a bar. And if I put this across Brenndan's knees right here, right, he goes to the top. All right, so if he does this correctly, his right knee will not get outside that bar. Okay, now if he does it incorrectly, going up on his toes, he's pushing that bar way forward. All right, so if you move ahead of it, so-called ahead of it, that's because your upper body is not, you don't have enough second axis tilt this way. You're doing that because your upper body is overworking too early in the swing. Okay. Now there are some instances, if you get a player that's really hanging back too far, you may get them to feel like they're going more forward.
It feels that way, but pretty good chance they're not.
Right, and you know, like we've got a couple of young juniors, they get to the top and they are so far this way. Their hand path is off, their body is not moving correctly. So what we get them to do is we have a ball, we have them take this ball to the top, and instead of throwing the ball out to the target line or to the right of it, we have them throw it left. And you can see I still had second axis tilt. So I'm going to do this in slow motion. If my hand path, as you'll see on this screen, here's the one we try to get them to do. See how my hands are working left. Now my body's not over rotating, and the path is not going so far to the right.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
All right, let's see if we got any more. Here we go. So, okay, this is from Bob. So, are we striking the ball with the right or left side? Go ahead, and I'll stay here for the questions.
I'm going to say it could be
Either
or
both.
Or both. You know, I mean, you're using both sides of your body, both left and right. So, you know, a lot of times it's personal preference where, you know, if somebody feels like they're using the left, then, you know, that's fine. It's what, you know, Chuck and I know is more of a swinger, you know. So, you know, you're going to feel more of a pulling sensation with the left arm, and you're going to feel the club kind of rotating naturally and using gravity and natural forces there. But if you're using the right side, which again you can, you know, that's what we would term as more of a hitter. You're going to be taking the club up, and you're going to be feeling this right arm on the downswing really extending and putting a lot of power into the shaft. So, you know, a good visualization would be like Arnold Palmer. You know, that would kind of be the visual for a hitting motion. So, right. You know, it's not that we're not fully answering your question. It's just that you're going to be using either or, left, right, or both. Really.
So you could feel like you're either pushing the club through or pulling the club.
Yeah. So I mean,
Hogan said he wanted 3 right hands when he hit.
Yeah.
So
he's obviously feeling like he's pushing it through this way, or you know, like we said, you can feel like you're pulling it through with the left.
Right. Right. Okay. This next one is from John. Is this true with all irons and the driver?
As far as left and right, yeah.
As far as using the right side,
yeah. I mean, everything that we talked about today, as far as, you know, keeping an emphasis on the right side is the same with every club. I mean, you know, we're trying to give players the best way possible to get the shaft on a much better path and a much better plane, and to get the hands and arms in a much better impact. Now, the only thing that would be different with a driver than an iron is obviously with a driver the ball's teed up. So we're not looking for shaft lean per se with a driver. I mean, there's some players that have it. You know, there's some players on the tour that have it, and that's fine. But most times when people try to get shaft lean or really increase this right wrist, that wants to leave the face open, and that's more of an out-of-line condition. So we're still having the right wrist with a slight bit of bend into it, but everything's in line with the left forearm.
All right, and we have, Harvey. How does using the right foot properly prevent me from scooping at impact?
Right foot properly at impact.
Yeah, so the right foot has nothing to do with holding on to the golf club, Harvey. So you obviously, if you are leaning back on your right side, the tendency is to move the club head past your hands. So players feel it differently. Some players feel this transition coming from the right foot. Some players feel it by moving the left knee outward. Some players feel it by just moving the hip.
Yeah.
So as long as it's going in that direction, it doesn't really matter which one it is. But if you're somebody that is hanging back on your right side, and we've talked about this drill before too, just when you take the club back, pick up your left foot. Plant your left foot, swing the club, pick up your right foot. That would be very difficult to do if I went like this. All right, so I've got to step, back, boom, step, swing, step, swing. You've got to get that pressure going over to the left side.
Yeah.
All right, we got a couple more. We had great questions today, guys. Thanks. From Tim Ward. Can you demonstrate in the transition how the arms shallow out the club and how the left arm loads more against the chest? Okay, so if you'll go ahead and get set up, Brenndan. So for the left arm to load against the chest, I'll ask you a question. You think about it logically, all right? So go to the top. So as he goes into his transition, if he pulls with the left arm, his arm will actually separate from the chest and work away from him. Now he could pull the butt of the club towards his right thigh, but it's still not tight. See, I can put my finger underneath his arm, between his arm and his pec here. It's still not against his chest. But if you do this, go to the top, as he transitions, if he feels his lower body transition and his right shoulder start moving down plane, you can see, watch his club shaft up here. If I move his right shoulder, you can see the shaft flattening, and he now has a ton of pressure with the left arm loaded against the chest. So the word pull, what happens is if you leave your hands and you move that right shoulder down plane, you will feel a pulling sensation of the left arm getting tighter against your chest. So that, in essence, the pull is actually generated through the right shoulder, holding the hand steady for a second.
Yeah.
And that's how you're going to feel the pull and feel the loading of the left arm against the chest. It'll make it load closer to you. So you'll see a lot of guys go like this, and the club's way out here. There's two things wrong with this. My left arm's completely off my chest. And the second thing is, if this is the target line, and I do that, no matter, here I am shallowing the club out, but my left arm's off my chest, and my forearm's out here. Well, it needs to be pointing at the base of the plane. Right? So when you do that, you've got to get this coming down to the base of the plane. Now my forearm's pointing at the base.
And that's a very critical piece right there.
Yeah. Now there are players that don't do this.
Yeah.
Okay? And they play really good golf. But if you want to work on better alignments, you would want to try to get all these things matched up and pointing at a reasonably same location.
Exactly.
All right. You got anything else to add on that?
No, that's outstanding.
All right. Now we also have, let's see if I can get Bob. We already answered Bob's question. Let me see if I can get this scrolled down some here. And then we answered Days. We answered Ayers. We answered Four Putt Johnny. I think we've answered everybody's question here.
We had a busy day today.
We did have. That's pretty good. Okay, so this is another one from Dave. It says, can you discuss foot action as it relates to using the right side? Well, we've kind of already done that, Dave. You want to go through that again, Brenndan?
Yeah, I mean, like what we talked about earlier is the thing with the right foot is on the downswing, if I'm transitioning, my pressure and my weight correctly, then this right foot is going to be staying on the ground a little bit longer. We see, Chuck and I see a lot of times where somebody will start and that right knee and everything's kicking out towards the target line real early like that. So, the good drill that we did a minute ago is just simply set up with a bar across here or something, or have somebody hold a shaft, and then you'd make a backswing. So now I want to miss that shaft, and if my foot action is correct, I'm going to stay inside there. And here's another thing you can do on the range. Go ahead and set up again. Just take a driveway marker, stick it in the ground at an angle like this, to where it's really tight into the ground, covering the top of your foot. Right, go to the top. Now, as you start down, it'd be really difficult for that foot to move forward. It actually has to move to the inside of the foot. Yeah. Roll the ankle in. Yeah. Instead of moving the foot out. Yeah. Exactly. Right? Okay, I think that is it for the questions. Let me look one more time. That is it. Okay. Well, hey, great thing today, guys. Thanks for all the questions. We really like that. We want to thank you all for coming into this week's webinar. We have a lot of things planned coming up this year here at Tiffany Springs, or Tiffany Greens here in Kansas City. So if you feel like you want to work on your game, come down here and spend a few days with us. We'd more than welcome. Love to see you. Oh, yeah. Spend time. We have a great time here. We got some great members, and we can get you on the golf course to play too. Every now and then. Every now and then. All right. So if you live in California and you see this little lady walking her dog, just say hi to Diana. She does that every day. And we will see you next week.